Good evening, ghouls and goblins. Welcome to the graveyard. For those returning, welcome back. I'm Luna Halloway, your friendly neighborhood jack-o'-lantern, local graveyard resident, part-time media archaeologist, and mostly ghostly host of today's program, Spin Saturday, the show where fate cures my decision paralysis and decides what I watch. Every Saturday, I spin the wheel, watch the movie, and report my findings. Will it be a new favorite? Will it be absolute slop? That's for fate to decide. And with that out of the way, let's spin that wheel. The Seventh Curse. Another one from 1986. The fates seem to be in a particular mood. I guess today the mood is horror martial arts creature feature with breakneck pacing and ample nudity. And honestly, when is it not? Now, my little archaeological dig into this movie's background took me down a bit of a rabbit hole. Please excuse my pronunciation of some of these names throughout this video. The film was directed by Lam Gai Kai, a Hong Kong-based filmmaker with a storied career of offbeat, ultra-violent martial arts horror movies. Under film production company Golden Harvest, he became a specialist director for films with mechanical and optical special effects, which we'll definitely see showcased in this movie. In his later career, he directed 1991's Story of Ricky, an adaptation of manga Rikyo, and a total gorefest. This era of his movies solidified his reputation for hyper-violent exploitation films abundant with bodily fluids, like Damien Leone, but with way more kung fu. Lam's last film to date is The Cat from 1992, described as a hallucinatory mixture of action, horror, comedy, and science fiction. Instant addition to the wheel. The Seventh Curse was actually based on a novel series written by Ni Kuang, a prolific writer of sci-fi novels and wuxia stories, a genre that blends Chinese fantasy and martial arts. This film is based on his Dr. Yuan series, following the adventures of the titular doctor, though it also borrows the leading man of his other most popular series, Wesley. Mr. Ni himself actually makes an appearance in the film, which we'll see in just a minute. There's not much information out there about the budget on this thing, but this movie ghoul is willing to bet that it was much lower than it looks. We open on a gentleman sitting in a chair with a drink, talking to some beautiful ladies about the inspiration for his novels. He greets his friends, Wesley and Dr. Yuan Chan up, and asks about their recent thrilling adventure. Dr. Yen says it'd be best if Mr. Ni tells it. Mr. Ni here is, of course, the author of the novel series I mentioned before. We cut to what looks to be an active hostage situation with police in a shootout. The robbers call for a doctor for a hostage that's having a major heart attack. The police comply, but plan to send in Dr. Yen. Now, my initial reaction here was, are you people crazy? You want this doctor to run into an active hostage situation where the robbers have grenades and you want him to plant a bomb? Just because he's had courageous adventures before? What does that even mean? Forgive me, I was not familiar with Dr. Yuan's game. The plan is to have Dr. Yen enter the building accompanied by a cop disguised as a nurse, and she'll set up the bomb while Dr. Yen treats the hostage and keeps the robbers distracted. Meanwhile, a reporter shows up and attempts to just run into the active crime scene without saying anything. We learn very quickly that this lady has audacity in spades. It's been about 5 minutes and this diva is already insane. They enter the building and the action ensues. All of that and our reporter didn't even get any pictures. Later on, at some sort of fancy schmoozing party, Dr. Yen is chatting up a pretty lady when he gets interrupted by the same reporter from before. She wants to do a story on him and his adventures, but gets totally ignored. Sorry girl, maybe next time. Dr. Yen returns to his home where he's got a mystery lover waiting. But enough of that now. Intruder alert! One thing I'd like to point out here, I love the set design of Dr. Yuan's house. There's so many little details everywhere alluding to his prior adventuring and what CinemaSins would call an orgy of evidence that he's a worldly, traveled man. He's kind of giving me James Bond vibes. The intruder turns out to be a man named Dragon, who basically tells him he's cursed and his time is running out, and that he needs to go back to Thailand. I guess he has to. Dragon said so. He also tells him to keep away from sex, which for James Bond over here is obviously an impossible feat, so he and his lady friend get busy immediately. Damn, a little premature, isn't it? Oh, that's not normal, I think. He consults his friend Wesley to ask for advice on what the hell just happened to him, and Wesley just casually tells him he's been put under a blood spell, and he just nods? I'm sorry, did you already know, or is this normal in this universe? You'd think he just told him he has male pattern baldness. Actually, he might have taken that worse. Turns out Dr. Yen did know about the curse, and we get a little backstory on the doctor's time in Thailand doing research on AIDS treatment. How very 80s. While he's there, a member of his research team warns him of a local tribe that practices dangerous witchcraft. You know, something tells me you're gonna change your mind there, Doc. He meets a pretty lady who's apparently from that witchcraft tribe he was just warned about, and he's told to stay away from her. They're called the Worm Tribe, I guess, which is fine, but a pretty strange name. I wonder what that's about. That night, the tribe is doing a ritual, and Dr. Yen and a few other guys from their camp sneak off to check it out. Oh, is that why they're called the Worm Tribe? From their hiding spot, they see a man that we'll come to know as the Grand Wizard, and the girl from before. The girl says she loves Dragon, who was sent away by the Grand Wizard, and she won't submit to him. You go, girl. The Grand Wizard threatens her and tells her that when Old Ancestor wakes, someone in the tribe will be chosen by God to die. And I guess God communicates via this fun arrowhead. And oh boy, can you believe it, the girl who won't submit to the Grand Wizard is chosen to die. Wow, that's so crazy. What a coinkydink. One of the members of the tribe stands up to the Grand Wizard and tells him he can't sacrifice this girl, who is a former chief's daughter, and now who is that? A freaky little worm creature springs out of the Grand Wizard's robes, eats the guy's face, and then bursts through his chest like a face hugger. Is that why they're called the Worm Tribe? Dear viewer, you are going to find out real quick here that if there's one thing I love in a movie, it's a freaky little creature. This bodes well for the scale. Inside the tomb, presumably Old Ancestor's tomb, they're preparing to sacrifice the girl and some other poor dude who got picked by God's arrowhead, but our James Bond doctor has snuck inside to save the girl. He has a gun, so he'll be fine. Now, I cannot emphasize enough that when the Grand Wizard says Old Ancestor is going to wake up, he really means that. Old Ancestor, who is a skeleton with bright glowing eyes, emerges from the sarcophagus and then just sorta stands there, menacingly.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
Okay, well don't just walk up to him, Dr. Yen. You have a gun, not a force field. Old Ancestor keeps attacking them, and oh my god, this goofy-ass skeleton is making me lose it. I love this so much. And I guess he eats the sacrifices? For what? Is he hungry? They don't have Snickers in the afterlife? Sorry, random guy, you're not anyone's love interest, so... yeah. Okay, now we're cooking. Once Old Ancestor eats, he becomes some sort of reptilian beast, and there's this awesome practical effect of the skull face exploding out into the snout of the creature. The two escape the tomb, but not without a fight, and their entire encampment is raided by the Worm Tribe. Unfortunately for our protagonist, he gets captured along with his older colleague from the research team. The older man gets a mysterious goop poured on his head that makes his skin peel off, and... Oh, okay, so that's why they're called the Worm Tribe. The Grand Wizard pulls a bullet out of a dead tribesman's body and feeds it to Dr. Yuan, which begins the blood curse and bursts open his right knee. Dr. Yuan uses the old mirror light trick to burn off his bindings, but a blood vessel in his other leg pops open. He leaves the tomb, but the same thing keeps happening, now out of his stomach. He keels over from the pain, but the girl he saved appears and saves him this time. By getting super naked and cutting something out of her breast? Yeah, okay, sure. Her magic was able to heal his wounds, and then he just went home, I guess. The friend he's telling all of this to is acting way too chill about this. I would personally be freaking out. I guess Wesley is some kind of witchcraft expert, and he tells him that the protection spell only lasted a year, which is why he must go back to Thailand to have his blood curse undone. I told you, Dragon said so. It turns out that Miss Reporter, whose name is Choi Young, is Wesley's cousin. She insists on going to Thailand with Dr. Yen, but he and Wesley both say no. We'll see how long that lasts. Dr. Yen arrives at his lodgings in Thailand, where he finds a piano covered in guns. Yes, very normal. Choi Young is here for some reason, even though she was expressly told not to come.
傻佬，
又係你？
我做你班機嚟㗎。
I kind of love whatever's wrong with her. She insists on going with him to the jungle, but,
我唔理你咁多，總之我哋要去㗎啦。唔通你綁得住我啊？哼！喂，你傻佬啊！你放！
Dr. Yen meets up with Dragon, who explains that the Grand Wizard is hunting him down, and they're immediately ambushed by like 20 guys. During the fight, Dr. Yen has another blood curse attack, but he gets saved by Choi Young. Their group meets that night with a neighboring tribe to the Worm Tribe, who've just had all the children in their village disappear. The leading theory on this is a ghost child curse, which requires the blood of 100 children to refine. The cursed creature can fly and viciously attack others, sucking blood and taking names for 3 years before the warranty expires and the curse needs to be renewed. They lead an expedition into the jungle, where most of the group is killed by booby traps. All that's left is Dr. Yen, Dragon, and Choi Young. While she and Dr. Yen are arguing, Choi Young falls down a hole, yet another booby trap. Dragon finds some of the missing kids and takes Dr. Yen to meet with Bachu, the pretty lady that saved him before. She tells him about the Sarira, a magic artifact that cures all curses, and which he must collect to save her and himself. At this point, Dr. Yen only has 3 days to live, so they better motor. Once he finds the Sarira, he'll only have a few hours to use it, or it'll dry out and be worthless. Cut to the captured Choi Young, who can't seem to nat 20 charisma her way out of this interaction with the Grand Wizard, but she can kick him and run. Sadly, despite all her moxie, she ends up at a dead end. Dr. Yen and Dragon realize that Choi Young has been captured by the Grand Wizard, and Dr. Yen says they should save Bachu first, but Dragon says they should prioritize saving Choi Young, which gives us this funny little interaction.
好朋友。
They ready up, action movie style, and drive their whole jeep straight through the Worm Tribe's camp in the middle of the day, all the way up the tomb steps, to which my jaw is on the floor. They plow through the tribe's defenses with grenades, a bow and arrow, and a shotgun. One of these things is not like the others. They find the Grand Wizard collecting the children's blood for his curse by putting kids in the literal orphan crushing machine. Choi Young is tied up in the same room. Dragon and Dr. Yen untie her, but she's unconscious. They bring her back to their camp, still knocked out. While Yuan has his back to her, she gets up like a vampire out of a coffin, grabs a sword off the wall, and attacks him in an obvious trance. Her cousin arrives on the scene, and she freaks out, needing to be sedated. They believe she was struck with a black heart curse, making her violent towards anyone she sees. Bachu offers to lift her curse. They collect the blood of several animals, boil it, and bathe Choi Young in it overnight. By the morning, the blood is all white and the curse is healed. Choi Young wakes up before Bachu and sees that half of her face has been deformed by her curse. Dr. Yuan tells Wesley that the 6th blood curse has burst under his ribs, and he has little time. The Grand Wizard is praying to the old ancestor, and the little worm freak shows up again out of a pool of blood. Oh, how I love him. Little Worm goes to the village and tries to attack Wesley, but he gets ambushed and trapped by Wesley and the others. Dragon and Dr. Yen arrive at the giant Buddha where the two Sadidas are. They struggle to climb it since the statue is both falling apart and covered in booby traps, naturally. Halfway up, they're confronted by about a dozen monks, which obviously caused them even more trouble. They're dead kung fu masters who are protecting the Sadidas from those who would take them. Honestly, I'm kind of impressed by the fight choreography in this scene, and throughout the whole film, really. That's something I love about old kung fu movies. They really know how to make a fun ambush. Dragon pleads directly with the monks to let them proceed, since they only want the Sadidas to save people from their curses. The Buddha statue cries, and with a spark of purple lightning, the monks disappear and they're granted passage. They collect the Sadidas from the Buddha's eyes, but not without one more setback. They run from the massive Buddha head rolling towards them, Indiana Jones style. Dragon evades it, but Dr. Yuan hits a dead end and decides, this is it. The head slams into the wall, but he's miraculously left with just enough room to avoid being crushed. Dragon gets him out, but the seventh curse nearly strikes him in the heart. He swallows the Sarira, which, I'm sorry, swallow? That whole thing? It's the size of a golf ball. Anyway, he swallows it to cure his curse, and the clock starts ticking on 2 hours to use the other one. They arrive back at camp, where they find the worm tribe ransacking the village. Wesley tells Dr. Yen and Dragon that Choyoung and Bachu were captured, so they race off to the tomb to save them. The Grand Wizard is starting his ritual to sacrifice the two women to Old Ancestor. Dr. Yen and Dragon arrive to fight him, and the Grand Wizard brandishes a freaky little lizard claw we've never seen before. He and Dragon fight, but before long, Old Ancestor wakes up and they all run for it as his sarcophagus slides towards them. His skeleton emerges and once again shifts into xenomorph mode. Man, the practical effects here are awesome. A battle ensues against the creature, and it's not looking good. Reinforcements arrive, and most of them get swept. This thing can fly, by the way. Apparently, the little worm freak is a ghost child. You mean to tell me that's what the Grand Wizard was doing? Kinda nuts that it takes 100 kids to make one little freak. But we can't complain too much because that little freak is the only thing that seems powerful enough to fight the Old Ancestor in this state. No, my poor little worm freak got eaten by Old Ancestor. A rocket launcher? Okay, so that worked pretty well. The fight took so long that the second Sarira dried up and they couldn't cure Bachu. Dragon says he will still love her, even if she looks that way for the rest of her life, which is pretty romantic. She promises to help their tribe live a better life now that the Grand Wizard is dead. We cut to one more schmoozing party where Dr. Yen is talking to a beautiful lady and Choyoung once again cockblocks him, but despite their bickering, we can see that they're friends now and have made up. A moment here at the end for her outfit and general styling throughout the movie. She has this funky little haircut and she's so tomboyish. This little blazer moment is super fun. I think they did a great job characterizing her through her styling. Wrapping it all up in a nice little bow, we end at the beginning where Wesley and Dr. Yuan toast as Mr. Nee finishes telling their story and the credits roll. What a wild movie. Who knew horror and martial arts were such an engaging genre combo? The creature design is so fun too, from our wormy little friend to the Xeno ancestor. So apparently the version I ended up watching was the original, but the DVD and initial Hong Kong release are a bit different, with some parts being cut out or censored. When I began my initial watch through of the movie, I started with the export cut, which is dubbed in English over the original Cantonese, which gave me prime access to hilarious dubbing choices such as the Grand Wizard sounding, as one Reddit user described, like a Rankin Bass Christmas elf.
We work hard all day, but our work is play.
While watching that version, I did have a sneaking suspicion that they only had, 3 or 4 voiceover artists dubbing for this movie, and I think they started running out of different voices they could do. In the end, we're presented with the age-old question, what the hell was that? And was it any good? This is where it really gets interesting, at least for me. This movie and Lam Gai-kai's other works are a prime example of Golden Era Hong Kong cinema, though it technically falls outside that period. It's characterized by a penchant for stylization and a disregard for Western standards of realism, which gives the audience a dynamic experience as the film plays fast and loose with its own rules, logic, and style. So much of the action cuts right to the chase. The writing is direct and to the point, the tone juggles comedy, gore, and sexiness in a way that only this kind of exploitation film can. It's the kind of movie that puts the viewing experience first, even over the plot, and really prioritizes showing the audience something of spectacle in nearly every frame. Basically, it's a super fun watch, and regardless of the major spoilers I've dropped in this video, I recommend you watch it in its entirety to get the full experience. Maybe even the English dub if you can find it. I found a little snippet on YouTube that you can find in the description. If nothing else, I think you'll get a kick out of it. Now, let's get this thing on the pumpkin purity scale. My personal graveyard rating system for sinister cinema, from pristine to fully liquefied. For this ghoul, the 7th curse lands squarely at slightly soft. For the uninitiated, that's 4 stars. The effects and creature design were fun and memorable, the action was dynamic, the storyline was so unbelievable it was hilarious, but where it excelled in spectacle, it did lack a bit in plot. Now that all's said and done, it's time to inter the old ancestor for good. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching my lunatic ravings. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see added to the wheel. Perhaps great gourds think alike. Perhaps you'll light up my lantern with something new. For now, I've been Luna Holloway. You've been a wonderful audience. If you want to see more videos like this, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you around the graveyard. Good night!